It's not very often I get excited about a transfer rumour. A lot of the time I just don't believe them. Somebody asked me earlier on, I did a video earlier this afternoon talking about how basically West Ham are playing transfer chicken. We're going to leave it. We're not going to make any bids until later on in the window. I argued that I thought that was probably quite a good policy for reasons I explained it in the previous video. I'll touch on it again in a second without overly repeating myself. But somebody said, if you think we're going to sign Jonathan David in the summer, well, I didn't. That's not what I said. I said if the club were looking to secure a free transfer in the summer, we'd be silly to pay the money now. Bearing in mind, I don't think what happens now is going to make a lot of difference this season. But the reason I replied, and I said, no, I don't, is because I've never really thought we were going to sign Jonathan David. And it's something that I know Gio sort of is of that opinion as well. We just get linked so many times and it doesn't happen. There's lots of players like that. You can reel them off the top of your head. These players we get linked with every single transfer window. Never happens. However, what I did see was that we were linked with Jonathan David shortly after I uploaded the video, but in a double deal for Jonathan David and Angel Gomes. Now this definitely spiked my attention. Now, we obviously upload a lot about West Ham on this channel, and when international break is on, I'll sometimes cover England as well. Now, we get probably a quarter amount of the views when I do England. So anybody that watches me on this channel every day and also watches the videos I do on the England games, you know, you're obviously West Ham fans and England fans, but you will know this because you are hardcore and probably listening to far too much Hammers chat than you should do. But we're very, very grateful. You will know I love Angel Gomes. Angel Gomes is a fantastic player. I love these players. I love these players, particularly midfielders with a low centre of gravity that are really technical, can turn quickly. In many respects, that's why I was excited when we were going to sign Jack Wilshere, because it's exactly what Jack Wilshere sort of should have been, but it didn't really work out. But as a footballer, you know, Jack coming through, I absolutely love players that play in that way. I think they're absolutely magnificent. So I really like Angel Gomes. For those of you that maybe are not totally familiar with him, he was meant to be the next big thing to come through at Manchester United. But he was the youngest player to come through since Duncan Edwards, and if you don't know who Duncan Edwards is, if you are one of the young lovely people watching this video and who's subscribed to the channel, go and have a little look. Go and have a look who Duncan Edwards is. It's quite an amazing story. Anyway, and so you know the youngest player. It didn't work out. He only made 10 appearances, and in the end he left to join Lille. Although he went via Boavista, so he went and did a loan spell in Portugal. He made his debut for England in September. What a player. And I just think he's absolutely incredible. He's a sort of player that you would just love watching him. And a lot of the deficiencies that West Ham have had, particularly in terms of keeping possession, and I think you would be hard-pressed to find too many players over recent years who have been really, really good at keeping possession. And, I mean, maybe Carlos Soler might be one of those players. Obviously, you need to see a little bit more from him. But I certainly enjoyed the technical ability that he brings to the team. And I say that in as much as I know that Lucas Paqueta is very technically gifted, but there's a difference. So some of the things he does are high risk, and he can often get caught with a ball at his feet and stuff like that. Gomes is a different animal, really, in terms of keeping. He can really dictate the pace of play from a central midfield position. Very, very good player. Anyway, so the rumour is that West Ham are interested in him and Jonathan David, both of whom are available on free transfers. Now, I can already. Someone's picking up their phone. They're probably doing it. Gonzo, if you think we're going to sign Jonathan David and Angel Gomes, you are deluded, my son. I may well be, but it's not going to stop me from getting excited about this, because I don't. Am I excited when we're linked with Wonyi? No. Muniz? No. I can't think of anyone particularly in this transfer window that I have been overly excited by. I guess, yeah, John Duran, but I don't believe it. So, you know, it's one of those. I do believe we bid, but I don't believe we'll get him. So it's hard to get excited about. Do I believe we'll get David and Gomes? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, you certainly, when you're going to sign players on a free transfer, you certainly, particularly when you're a Premier League club, it does put you in a conversation. particularly when you start to rule out the really, really big clubs. And look, it may well be that he goes back to Manchester United. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Apparently Tottenham are interested, but, you know, who knows what Tottenham are going to do next season. You don't even know what they're going to do this season. It's a weird one. With West Ham, he could be guaranteed first-team football. Now, earlier on, I tried to make the case, and I wasn't aware of this information. When I did my video earlier about West Ham playing transfer chicken, I certainly wasn't aware that what I was going to speak about was sort of going to play out in a story later on. So what I said was, I thought it was wise for West Ham just to wait. I think Bowen will be back whenever, you know, mid-February or whatever the case may be. I do believe that he will be deployed up front by Graham Potter. I do think that will be the case. So anyone coming in, I think we're almost buying a striker for 5 or 6 weeks. Is it worth it? I'm not so sure. If it's going to ultimately impact our budget, now we've made the change and got Potter in, I don't sort of mind us building slowly. I'm not in any massive hurry up. I still think we'll see improvements this season. I still think you'll see, you know, academy players sort of with more long-term strategy developed and brought in. And I sort of judging by comments in one post-match interview and 2 press conferences, I think Potter's impressed with Lucas Paqueta. I'll deal with that more in tomorrow morning's video on match day. I think he's impressed. And I wouldn't be surprised if just he's utilised. I just think Potter probably thinks he can make do until players come back. And with that in mind, he's going to be looking ahead to next season. And I just wonder if we do have a realistic chance of getting these players, or even a chance, not even a realistic, just a chance of getting these players. And he'll have been advised whether we do or whether we don't. I've no doubt about that at all. I can't believe for a moment that Potter's going to surround himself with football people. And he seems to be very, very good at doing that, but then not surround himself with people who might, you know, be aware of whether players are interested in coming or not. And I do wonder if he's been offered the chance to, look, do you want us to bring some players in now, or are you prepared to wait and we can probably throw that money at the players next season? I wouldn't be surprised if he said, you know what, I'll make do, I'll sort of muddle through at the moment. Now, I do wonder, there is a risk to that. I mean, let's say we do beat Crystal Palace and then you start looking up the table. You would look at it mathematically and think, oh, you know what, we may well be able to qualify for Europe. But so maybe you might then look back and regret that we haven't strengthened. But we're struggling to get Guido Rodriguez out the door. The Guilherme transfer, which I'm not going to talk about again, is what, 10% likely to happen, they said. With that in mind, we don't even know there's that many funds coming in. I could just understand it from his point of view if he might say, I'll wait until next summer. And I said that earlier in the video earlier before I even knew about Gomes and Jonathan David. And I think, you know, there's going to be people who say, well, it's totally unrealistic. I think it's unrealistic when you're dealing with someone like Kylian Mbappe. I think he only goes to sort of Real Madrid, doesn't he? I think if you're dealing with Jude Bellingham or whatever the case may be, yeah, I think there's that. But Jonathan David is a decent player, but he's not the world's best striker and only going to go to Real Madrid or Barcelona. I think, you know, clubs of our size have a chance of getting these players, particularly bearing in mind the wages we pay. Gomes, really, really tidy player, but he's not going to walk into Real Madrid's midfield, is he? So they're unlikely to be in for him, and particularly pay him, you know, the wages that West Ham would, you know, to sit on the bench. I look, whether it will happen, I don't know. But I was far more excited. I was really pleased to hear this than... And I was very underwhelmed. And when I spoke about the news earlier on this week about Andre Silva, you know, he's not got a great record. I struggle to get excited about those players. I'll bring him in to just get someone in now. I think it depends on the situation, doesn't it? I think that was certainly the case when we were in Europe last season, this winter last season, 1 year ago. I think you make a really, really good case. We were in the knockout stages in Europe, and I think it might have made the difference. I really do. If we could have brought 1 or 2 players in. Look, West Ham could beat anyone on their day, particularly when we've got good players. I thought what was really crazy we had a small squad anyway to then get rid of Benrahma, Fornals and Thilo Kehrer when we still had a European campaign as well. And really, well, we did bring someone in, and it was Calvin Phillips. And people often forget about it. And people do forget about that, particularly when, people talk about David Moyes. That was one of the big reasons that David Moyes did end up going. Why the club certainly lost faith in him. He was offered players. He was particularly offered a forward, and he rejected. A lot of the players said, "No, I just want to go with Calvin Phillips. That will do. That will be enough to see us through." And it was an abomination. And I just think, sometimes it's the time to strengthen. I think if we'd have bought 2 or 3 players, spent some of the money that was obviously earmarked for this transfer window, where we spent lots and spent it then, was the right time. I'm not so sure about now. I would do wonder, and particularly with transfer fees and things like that. If you can get a player without a transfer fee, then you can start chucking that money. If you get whatever, you get money for players, even if it was Guilherme or anyone else, you can put that towards a transfer. But next season, we can already offer them big money. Danny Ings won't be here next season. Danny Ings is 85 grand a week. You can offer that to one of those players, plus some more. There's a lot of other players who are going to be leaving out of contracts, some big earners there as well. And there's some big earners, and there's Vladimir Soufal. So, I think it's doable. Anyway, I just thought I'd probably share my excitement with you on that. Oh, I would love, particularly Gomes, I would love that. The sort of player I just really, really like watching play football. Anyway, match day tomorrow. I'll see you first thing tomorrow morning.